Well, tensions are simmering in Ferguson, Missouri, as the community awaits a grand jury's decision on whether to indict a white police officer for shooting to death the unarmed black teenager Michael Brown Jr. More demonstrators are gathering in Ferguson to demand justice for Michael Brown. Many voices are now pleading for protesters to remain calm, as well as restraint on the part of riot police. Meanwhile, Officer Darren Wilson, who fatally shot Michael Brown, is reportedly negotiating his resignation from the Ferguson Police Department. Arise News correspondent Ruella Rouf joins us with the latest from Ferguson, Missouri. Ruella, it's good to see you. First of all, there was a press conference that was held. We all got very busy anticipating an announcement. It was not an announcement of the grand jury, but sort of an announcement before the announcement. Tell us about what was said at this press conference.
Right. A press conference was held earlier today to discuss some of the security measures that would be taking place between protesters and law enforcement as the grand jury decision comes within days. The press conference responded to some of the rules of engagement, the 19 rules of engagement that protesters gave to law enforcement. And law enforcement really wanted to respond to some of these rules. So one of the rules, for example, that protesters wanted was the preservation of human life. That was really important. And also they wanted police to wear attire that was minimally required for the job. That means that they did not want attire with helmets and militarized gear that we saw back in August. And the press seemed to take the response from the St. Louis City Mayor and the St. Louis County Executive, but there are still questions that linger. For example, some of the sites that protesters want to demonstrate at, they released a site of almost 50 earlier this week. Some of them obvious, like the Ferguson Police Department, the City Hall, St. Louis County, but some of them are not as obvious, such as businesses like the Ritz-Carlton. Protesters want to affect certain aspects of the economy. They're following examples from the civil rights movement, and they want businesses to really take a stance because the businesses are a part of this community. And they're saying that if you're not willing to really take a stance, then you shouldn't be in our community. And all of this is really to just really help bring businesses, residents, law enforcement close together, because there has been this bubble, this gap that has been growing in this area.
Ruella, let me ask you about these negotiations that we've heard about for Darren Wilson and his resignation. Was that addressed at the press conference, and what have you learned about that? When will the resignation be official?
Now, my sources here in St. Louis have not confirmed that he will be resigning. The only outlet that is reporting that right now is CNN and affiliates that are close to CNN. So that actually was not addressed at the press conference today, and in fact, nobody asked that either. The questions were quite limited to maybe 5 or 6 after the St. Louis City Mayor and the county executive spoke.
The governor, of course, Jay Nixon, gave a press conference just earlier this week or last week about some of the security measures, saying that he is, of course, calling in the National Guard to be on standby, and announced that the FBI would be helping law enforcement as well as a number of other agencies. Were there any adjustments or additions made to the security measures that the city or state is doing in preparation for reaction to the announcement?
Well, Governor Nixon earlier this week did say that he will be activating the National Guard, but unlike the first time around, the National Guard will not be on the ground with protesters. They're going to be taking more of a secondary role. So that means providing security at the command stations, at the firehouses, and in other areas, so that law enforcement could be freed up to negotiate and enforce some of the rules for protesters, some of the constitutional rights for protesters.
I see. Ruella Rouf reporting for us from St. Louis. Thank you so much, Ruella.